you very much for that introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. It's all about the experience. What I'd like to talk to you about for the next 20 minutes is really some of the things which we think are important to retailers in the next few years. As such, it's affecting not just the conversations that we have with our clients, but also how we work as a business in terms of the products and services that we sell. I've got the fortunate slot in today's agenda of following on from some tremendous speakers who've already raised some of the most pertinent points, I think, of our age. And really what I want to do is try and crystallise these in terms of some images of stores which are doing some great things, brands which are really revolutionising their experiences, or the performance that they do that keeps them in business, and really taking forward these whole ideas and thoughts and concepts that we've been looking at so far. So for me, it's about the importance of getting it right. And of course, that's a simple statement to make, but it's multifaceted and occurs at many levels. Now, as a company, we've been doing what we do for about 25 years, but within the team, we've got experience that spans many, many sectors, industries and disciplines. Not just creative, but also in HR, in operations, in marketing, and of course the whole wrapper is all around retail delivery. Two companies within the group, Visual Thinking and Design Lab, work hand in hand to deliver customer-focused solutions, either in terms of structure, strategy, resources, or creativity. Of course, some of the sectors that we work within are all the things that we've been talking about so far, and I'm sure sectors which in many ways we're all shoppers of. So we experience these things on a day-to-day basis, whether that's clothing and lifestyle, all the way through to automotive. And of course, anyone that's bought a car in recent years will see for themselves, and more importantly, experience for themselves, the massive structural changes which are taking place across all consumer sectors. We do two things fundamentally. One is that we look at the processes, get them right, document them, and pop those out into a format that retail teams can work with. But more importantly, we engage hearts and minds through experiential events and happenings, so that people don't just learn what to do, but they take that on board. So it's really about inspiring hands, hearts, and minds. Now, a lot of people will tell you that retail is a very easy game. In fact, it's as easy as ABC. But we know that there are increasing levels of complexity. In fact, complexity being one of the devils of our age. And much as we try to simplify, we invent ever more systems to try and catch us out and make life more complex. So rather than focus on the ABC, I'm going to talk about the D, E, and F, which is about being disruptive and distinctive and differentiated, which is about looking at expertise and excellence, and ultimately creating fans, which adds to the financial success and performance of your business. The context for this really is starting with the power of attraction. Regardless of what we sell, what we do, all businesses have to reach out and communicate to their consumers. And increasingly in our visual world, a world which is formed of sensory experiences, it's about trying to get that unique interaction. Here, the flower and the bee are actually dependent on each other for their survival, whether that's a simple task of collecting pollen that in turn creates nectar and honey within the hive. But think about it, and it's no different in terms of we as consumers interact with the brands which nourish us or give us fulfillment or satisfaction. That simple transaction in turn relates into brand performance. It relates into jobs. It relates into our society. So for all of us, we have a vested interest in getting this right. Now, for many years, brands have been long looking at sensory experiences and how you can harness the individual impact of those senses in terms of developing a distinctive and dynamic proposition. Whether it's Lush, who are famed world over for their senses, of smell, you can sense and smell a Lush store 20 metres before you see it. Whether it's Nike and their subliminal soundtrack to the gameplay, whether you're on the court, in the stadium, or on the track, you'll hear subliminal noises in store that take you to that experience. In fact, each of the world's best retailers have been experimenting with their senses for a number of years and have been perfecting ever more closely guarded formulas about how to get that right. But of course, some of this happened a long, long time ago. Walt Disney was the first person who really put together brand experience, and through imaginative storytelling, created a multi-billion-dollar industry of theme parks and cartoons and movies and TV networks, and all things that live on today in our children's hearts. So in many ways, what we're doing is something that's actually been around for a long time, but retailers have to keep up to date, and often refreshing old concepts through new eyes. So D is all about being disruptive, distinctive, and clearly differentiated. Now, there were hundreds of businesses that I could have shown you here today which are new or doing things differently, but I'd like to show you two which you may be less familiar with. And the first is called Razor Store. Razor Store is a gamer's business. It purely only sells stuff for gaming. Hardware, peripherals, keyboards, mice and headphones, hardware and software. It's one of a new generation of businesses which are almost one-hit wonders. They don't try and sell everything, they try and sell to a niche, highly focused audience. It's bespoke, it's tailored, and it's highly personalised. The new Razor Store in San Francisco opened in May this year, and I'm pleased to say to Miff, it's actually in one of your Westfield developments in the Westfield on Market Street. So big congratulations for having such a fantastic concept. Razor Store is category defining. It breaks all the rules. It's the ultimate in customer experience. Here, the customers themselves, or shoppers or gamers as they actually are, all contribute to product development and the store experience. Take the people away and turn the power off, and what's left? Razor Store is all about bringing the expertise of the gamer into the retail environment. It's the ultimate in crowdsourcing. The gamers play the games, perfect games, develop games, and ultimately rate those products which ultimately go into the company's website. It's a massive social media opportunity. It drives footfall into the Westfield Mall. It has a huge online community, and based in the right place, in a tech hub like San Francisco, it becomes an epicenter of experience which helps them to stand out in a very crowded world. So for those people who design stores or design POS or design all the bits and pieces along the way, never forget that consumers are increasingly the experience. It's the participation of people. It's their enjoyment, it's their likes, it's their referrals, it's their telling a friend over coffee that they had a great time in that store, which ultimately is going to make the difference in future. Now, another store in a completely different category has been doing this quietly. I say quietly because in many ways they've been scrutinised and poured over by many other businesses for almost 10 years. Italy is a brand which you may be familiar with. They're mega gastronomies, Italian supermarkets, a masterclass in everything Italian. This is a concept that was actually not founded by a food specialist, but actually someone who was working in the electronics industry. The very simple aim and mission of Italy is to create something which is honest, good, and sincere. The very best of Italian products, the very best of Italian hospitality, all put together in an environment which is inspiring and the social context, one about community. Italy choose very different types of stores, only 28 in the world so far. Some in the USA, some in the Asia, and some in UAE, first one in Dubai. All operated to the same rules but under different ownership models, whether company stores or partners or franchises, but a very strict and well thought through, considered execution of what the brand is all about. Italy simply stands for incredible food and service, and seriously, you won't experience anything like this elsewhere. All of the major grocers have made their category team trips to Italy to go and scrutinise and understand what do they do. And of course their homage to that is that they'll put up a few strings of salami or put a bit of gingham cloths out to try and say, well, we're just as good as the rest, when in fact many of those products are of nowhere near the provenance which Italy aspires. So make no doubt, Italy has a distinctive proposition, one where they make a virtue of excellence, one where expertise courses through their veins. But it's not just about the sale of food, it's about the enjoyment of food. It's about the social experience that comes with it. Italy is a place to shop, to dine and enjoy. Their supermarkets open all day long, from breakfast through to late night dining, and you'll experience an ever-changing menu. Many of the products are made by real chefs in store, using all their own local ingredients. Whether it's a simple gelato or whether it's a pizza pomodoro, you will get the best product with the best service and the best environment. So if D is for disruption and creating a genuine point of difference, one that even as a small business can help you to stand out. Razor has 7 stores, Italy only 28. How do you really turn that into a business that can actually gain traction? As we've been hearing today, it's about the experience, it's about expertise, and ultimately it's about having excellence at the heart of everything you do. This is a store we've just opened for Hunter in Tokyo. Now, those of you who are familiar with the Hunter brand will know that actually it's a brand which really punches above its weight. They only have 2 main company stores, Regent Street and Tokyo. But they have a whole network of distributors and wholesale brands all over the world. But for Hunter to really tell its story, and to do so in a way that it can really stand out and compete, they engaged a terrific design company to create a retail environment, and they worked with Checkland Kindersides in Leicestershire to do that. But where did we fit into the picture? Well, because Hunter recognised that a great brand is not just about a shop fit. It's about an experience. It's about how you deliver that brand on a day-to-day basis through expert product presentation, through sales associates who understand deeply what the brand is all about, and can present that and project that in a sincere and genuine way to their consumers. So opening Regent Street was relatively easy, but taking those same principles and values and concepts into Tokyo, where you're less familiar with its British roots, was somewhat of a bigger ask. But here what you can see, how Hunter helped cut through the noise of every other manufacturer and every other designer store, or every other big money business which is trying to create this temple or brand paradise of its own, is to deliver something unique, something that's category defining, visibly different, sector leading, and in so doing, they create their own voice. Now this is a brand who you'll be very, very familiar with, I'm sure. Part of the Volkswagen Group, and we know that they've had their own challenges in recent years. But ultimately, Audi is all about excellence, and its vehicles and its models are absolutely what the consumer understands. But like many brands, they sell other things too, and general merchandise, whilst a small, is an important and growing part of that mix. I don't know how many of you might have started your own personal journey on 2 or 4 wheels with a t-shirt, or a baseball bat, or baseball hat I should say, or a keyring, or other kind of souvenir. But in fact, many of those purchases that we ultimately go on to drive start off from an affection for a piece of merchandise first off. And whilst all of the big auto brands all sell merchandise as part of their extended catalogue, to most of these companies it's not important. The merchandise is actually a bit of an irritation, it's a difficulty, it's something they have to do to maintain their franchise standards, but not something where their expertise lies. But when you think about it differently, and you start to appreciate the absolute crystal moment that it has in starting a consumer's relationship with the brand, then you can encourage teams to start to consider and regard it differently. If you then get the teams motivated, not only by its potential to start a conversation with consumers who may go on to buy a vehicle, but also the fact that it can have its own sales impact in its own right, then you can really start to talk to people at a level that they'll buy into. So by adopting new standards in merchandise presentation, which are complementary to the expertise which is offered across the rest of the product estate, then you can really motivate people to make a difference. The trial that I'm demonstrating and showing you here is some photographs of what we did with Audi within the last 12 months, and that's a real number on the top there. A 950% increase in merchandise sales by doing things differently and better, demonstrating the quality and expertise and reputation of your brand, not just on four wheels, but in everything the customer is exposed to and everything that you want them to buy. F is for what? It's all about developing fans. Why we need fans is because people who adore us, people who are devotees, people who are really motivated to want to come and spend their time and money with us, ultimately turn into people that we like because of the financial benefits that they can bring. And there are many brands which have got unknown fan bases. People perhaps where there is latency in terms of some of those relationships, where they don't capitalise enough on the potential to leverage even greater sales and commercial performance from that relationship. This is a store which recently has undergone, again, another new shop fit. But it recognises fundamentally, like some of the earlier speakers have said, it doesn't really sell anything different. What it does sell is products and services and handsets, which largely are commonplace are among a number of different brands. So to compete, it has to compete on different terms. And that's where service and excellence and trust really can come into the consumer zeitgeist. The project we did with O2, complementary to the new shop fit, was about saying how do you land that and sustain that and build that into a living everyday reality. So we provided a tool, an online register or portfolio or reference guide for everything to do with running that store. Not just from a look and feel perspective, but interactions with customers, how you serve and how you sell, and ultimately how you live the brand. But we didn't just provide a digital manual online. What we provided was measurement across the whole piece. Online, real-time reporting that can be uploaded on an hourly basis about performance. If we do something, launch something, say something, we can monitor it, measure it, and test that it's working. Stores can upload, feedback, share, collaborate, communicate back to the centre. So we get an instant response about performance. We can make nips and tucks, twists and turns in the course. So rather than waiting for a month for a new promotional pack to come out, or waiting for a weekly email to come in and advise updates to operational standards, we can work with teams in real time. This kind of digital transformation, when allied to strong proposition, is really what's changing. Changing the fan base, and that's what's important. Because in a world where you can buy the same thing anywhere, you have to reach out to people and connect with them one-to-one. You have to be more important, more special, closer to any of their other providers for their similar goods and services. And that's where, whether it's having a great store environment, expert retail standards, amazing outstanding service, or a personal connection is what wins out. But of course, perhaps one of the brands which ultimately is all about fans is Harley-Davidson. This is a company that has one of the strongest brands in the world. It is routinely, annually, trotted out by brands like Interbrand as one of the top performers in terms of brand loyalty, brand equity, and brand preference. But this is a company that for many years had been sitting on its potential, perhaps riding on its laurels a little, perhaps just being a bit complacent and not doing enough to generate more sales from its dealership. By understanding the brand story, what was it really at the heart of why do our fans like us? They realised that authenticity of purpose was about what the brand was really all about. Original journeys, original stories, original tribes, communities, be them large or small, that were brought together to experience the joy of the ride. Knowing this, Harley-Davidson were able to crystallise a unique personality for how the brand would be represented in store through these stories. Whether I'm a tourer, a city rider, somebody who's an urbanite or a commuter, these individual brand stories transformed the way they saw about products. They weren't just things on two wheels. but individual machines which were complementary with merchandise and clothing and other things like gifts and collectibles that could appeal to unique consumer groups. This brand story around dark custom is aimed specifically at a particular customer demographic and a customer which is young in attitude, but somebody who wants a very, very hard ride. Put all this together, roll it out, package it up, communicate to the teams and inspire a generation, and you can see what's possible. A 34% increase in merchandise sales just by doing things differently. No new investment in shop fit, no new investment in hardware, the only investment made in thinking and creativity and how you engage hearts and minds to make a difference. So at the end of my 20 minutes, I'd like to leave you with this. It's not just about the A, B and C, but also about the D, E and F. And it's your brand experience that really makes the difference. For success, think about and tell a really immersive story. 360, full sensory. Take on board all of the options. Get both the what and the how right, and deliver that focused around your proposition. Retail teams are absolutely, unquestionably, every time the deciding factor in success. Give them great communications, inspire them to do more, and engage their heads, hands and hearts, and you will be amazed at the opportunities that they can bring. Track and measure is often where companies fall short. Great ideas that are not followed through. If you want more marketing budget next year to do these things, first of all you have to prove that it works, that you can maximise the ROI. And above all, think like a customer. Because I'm not sure how many times this afternoon we've referred to kind of almost the customer as this remote third party. Stop and think about it, because it's you too. It's you and your teams and your work groups and your colleagues. We're all customers. We all want better things. We're all out there experiencing it. So if we canvass those views and we take those on board internally, again, it can be a very, very rich source of inspiration and new solutions. So thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Karl McKeever.